All right, so guys, I want to talk to you guys about your projects for a moment. So obviously you can tell by looking at the top ones that there's not really much in the top ones that speaks about like your kind of ideas in creating a design. That one was all given to you. The only thing I want to point out is that there's going to be some people that are just naturally gifted at being able to create like really clean craftsmanship. Like this one's a pretty clean one. This is Boo, Dongui. All right, so that one looks very clean. This one's pretty clean too. This one is James, or no, Tamara. This one's very clean. All right, Othman. So there's a few of them when you look at them that are like the craftsmanship is like pronounced, right? Now, if you guys would remember something, I told you guys I'm not going to really bear down in the grading on the craftsmanship at first because as you guys have gone through your previous life experiences, chances are you haven't been doing a lot of this. And I don't want you guys to feel like, oh, I can't do this, right? Because this process of making a model is something that I was horrible at. I mean, I was horrible. You know who taught me to build a clean model? Hero. Because Hero and I went to Cal Poly together, and I remember you should, if you ever get a chance, take a look at his thesis model. Ask him if he'll take you in his office and show you his thesis model. And ask him to show you where the stairs are. The stairs that are the thickness of like a few pieces of paper, and there are hundreds of them. So he is an amazing, amazing model builder, okay? And when we were in school, he's the one that kind of said, hey, you got to wash your hands, and he's the one that taught me the techniques of not, cutting too fast and keeping a really sharp knife and all that stuff, the stuff that I'm trying to convey to you, okay? So I don't want people to get discouraged, right, because it's like, oh man, my box looks terrible. My box looked worse than anything you see here when I first made, I didn't make one of these, but when I first started cutting foam core, oh my God. I mean, it looked like I cut it with a butter knife, It's terrible, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these out so you guys can kind of come up and pick one up and go, wow, this person's like, hey, man, can I sit next to you? Right? Show me how you did that. And literally try to observe how other people are attaining that craftsmanship. Most of it is going to come through practice. And by the end of the semester, if you're having trouble, like cutting some portions of it, by the end of the semester, you won't be having those problems. Okay? So with that said, I'm going to take these. Oops. I'm going to move that stuff forward. I'm going to take these and put them down here. Goes with that. So you guys are welcome to come up and take a look at those. There. There. Don't lose that. Move that one forward and put that one there. Okay, now we go to the second one, right? How many minutes am I at? 3.5. Okay, you need to make sure I don't go too far. All right, now we're going to get to the second one where you were given a prescriptive set of standards for one side, and then you guys came up with something on the other side, okay? So let's take a look at one of them. So Gunnar's is right here, right? And Gunnar said he had a hell of a time working with the corner. So here's something, and again, I didn't give you guys a lot of restrictions for this one. But for your final project, one of the requests that will be made is that you not lose the corners. Let me try and explain why. So I'm going to put this one kind of here. I'm going to tilt this up at the board so that it sees the board. So there's all sorts of stuff up on the board right now, but hopefully I can find a place to write stuff. So a lot of times what I'll do is I will actually use the Apple logo as kind of an example, right? So the Apple logo, I think it goes up a little right here or something like that. And the Apple logo is an apple with a bite taken out of it. You have an iPhone? No? I think the logo looks something like that, right? That little pointed.
The other side, but it's okay.
Okay, and this is a little bit more pointed. All right, it's on the opposite side. Okay. So one of the things about it is that you see the form of the apple, you see the shape of the apple, right? Correct? And with one bite taken out of it, you see that the apple has been subtracted from, right? So right now, when you do an analysis, your mind thinks about it as apple with a bite out of it. A shape with a subtraction from it. You understand that, right? Okay. What do we have? We have an apple core, right? You no longer, and do you see subtraction or you don't see subtraction? You don't really see subtraction because if I was to remove that, it would look like a whole new shape, right? So one of the things about subtraction is that in order to express it artistically, you have got to retain the original shape. If you're trying to show somebody, I am going to take a chunk out of this thing, right? Then you've got to retain the original shape. With rectilinear volumes, okay, with rectilinear volumes, the key shapes are, first and foremost, the very four corners, okay, and then some of the edges. If I was to draw this diagram up here, next, let me try to erase some of this stuff. So if I was to draw this, even though there isn't a cube there, all there is a bunch of lines. Your mind is still filling in the cube, right? So it ends up looking, your mind ends up seeing this because it's filling in the blanks, right? But watch what happens to this same thing when I cut out this corner. And then I cut out this corner. And then I cut out that corner. And that corner. And maybe this corner. And this corner. Do you still see the cube, or do you just see a new shape?
New shape.
It's a new shape, right? So two lessons that have to be learned. If you are trying to express this idea that a piece has been taken out of it, then you need to show most of it first. Okay? So the thing has to have most of it still there. Right? That's the apple thing. The second thing is that understand that every piece of geometry has key pieces that make you sort of understand it as an object, and that you want to try to retain those when it's possible. And things that are rectangular or things that have sharp, straight edges, those pieces need to be maintained in order to see it. Okay? So those are kind of the two visual lessons that I want you guys to take from this. And so when we look at Gunner's, one of the things that it's not completely gone because he still has a lot of the other ones, is that he's removed that corner, and so that sort of starts to distract from it. This next person, which is Dongui, right, did the same thing. They took the corner. Theirs is much lower, and so it's easier for your mind's eye to fill in the corner. How many minutes am I at down there?
10 minutes
Right, this one has sort of two pieces cut out, so it's okay. You still see it, but it's not as expressive as, say, Gunner's with the number of cuts that he did. Right, next one. So same thing. This one's a little bit less noticeable because the edges that would be up against the sky are still there, but the one on the ground is taken out. But better to leave the corners. Okay. This one's got symmetry, so we all know by the time you were 5 you mastered symmetry, so we need to be a little bit careful about that. This one's not completely done. Let's see. All right, so here's, this is tomorrow's, right? Is that yours? Yeah. And so tomorrow's has a bit of symmetry going on in the corner, but you know, she's kind of used some of the techniques that we used and kind of extrapolated it. Okay, let me see if we can find another one. So here's another one that's very interesting, but really you start to lose a sense of what the original object was. Now I'm not saying this is bad, I'm just saying that if we're trying to express subtraction, right, that you might want to leave a piece of the corner. Okay, now you can design through subtraction without wanting to express subtraction. Do you guys see the difference? In one case, you want people to look at it and go, that looks like a bite got taken out of it. Look, it's a giant cube and somebody took a bite out of the corner of it. They must hate those round apples. They want those square boxes instead, right? That's expressing subtraction. Now, what a sculptor does when he or she takes a stone and completely removes away from it, that's still subtraction, but that is not expressing subtraction. Big difference between the two, okay? So these boxes, I want to leave them out here so that you guys can kind of look at them. I'll be grading them throughout the day. So go ahead and stop the video.